chart, it goes flat. White headphones on his hat, money counter on his lap, gold chain with the strap, cashing out, hella cleansing, got Solana in the bag. What's the ticker? Where's it at? I put the crypto on my tab. Put the crypto on the bag, see the chart, it goes flat. White headphones on his hat, money counter on his lap, gold chain with the strap, cashing out, hella cleansing, got Solana in the bag. What's the ticker? Where's it at? I put the crypto on my tab. Blew the whole shot, didn't land, another sell-off, we been had. Not a single drop of liquid left, bullish on another flip, but 1% it didn't slip. What's the ticker? Where's it at? I put the crypto on my tab, blow the whole shot, didn't land, another sell-off, we been had. Not a single drop of liquid left, bullish on another flip, but 1% it didn't slip. I put the crypto on my tab, put the crypto on my tab, blew the whole shot, didn't land, another sell-off, we been had. Not a single drop of liquid left, bullish on another flip, but 1% it didn't slip. Tip the cat, we put the crypto like a cat.
Tick, 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 tick. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning. I was on mute. Hey, good morning. Happy Cinco de Crypto.
Cinco de Crypto time.
Yes.
Cinco de Crypto, what's the ticker? What we're bullish on? What do you want to know? I asked Giuliano to come on stage too because I know he's from the Quack 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 family over at the Duck Pond. Yeah, on Solana. And so come chill or leave it in the comments, right? Or just come on stage. You don't have to talk, but just pin a post, right? We're out here pumping your bags too. And we are live on YouTube, which Tick is going to hopefully post somewhere in the comments or in the pin post here, Jumbotron.
I forgot.
And we also stream live on Space because, we be down like that.
Yes, indeed.
You do both?
Both, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
I figured
Wow.
so that people could see what's going on the screen. I streamed to Twitter because it's easy to do multi-streams at the same time simultaneously, and then YouTube just so that I have a collection and a record of the show as these spaces as we do them. So an hour and a half per show, and we've done like 10 of them recorded so far. Because we did about a week before we started recording. There's like 20 hours worth of footage up on YouTube now, something like that. So it's pretty cool, and it's also a cool way I can go back and look at like what we talked about, and I've actually I like it.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Some
really
TA,
cool.
we're pulling up charts. You have like a visual, especially when I start talking about levels and stuff, and it's so cool because I can ask Tick to pull it up, and we can research tokens and projects, right? And we can pull it up live in the stream on Space or on YouTube, and it gives people a visual while we're talking in the space. And so, a good thing. I was just in Edge's space. He has a space. I think he's going to do it tomorrow again at 6 Central European time, which would be 10 a.m. for the East Coast, I assume. Or yes, East Coast.
Yeah. Oh, you did the European time too? Cool.
Yeah, I'm from Amsterdam.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So
nice. I'm from Sweden, by the way.
See, I thought you were Nguyen. Nguyen is from Sweden too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people from Europe into crypto too. You guys, I've been meeting people from closer to me, sometimes more than I do in the United States.
In the community?
Yeah, Giuliano
Wow.
here. Giuliano, Italiano.
Yeah, I'm originally from Italy. I live in the UK, and Zero as well in the listener section is Italian or Maltese or Italian.
That's what I'm talking about. That's where the food is. So, can you tell I'm hungry? Yes, Giuliano, how are you? How you been?
I've been very good, very busy. I've been actually in a lot of spaces with the Doginals, actually. I've been shilling you around with the Doginals, what I always do.
Yes. Well, I'm always quack that point, right? So we help each other out here. We make each other win. That's what we do, and that's why I'm happy to have this space. Come up with your ticker, or shill yourself. It's live on YouTube or live in streaming on X too. So yes, let's welcome Tiny then too. Tiny, how are you?
What's up, Tiny? Hey, Tiny, what's up, dude? I
Tiny
need.
still needs to think about it. Maybe he's grabbing a coffee like I went to do. Sarah would like to come on stage. Yeah, you guys share the room. Let's get some more people in here. Yeah, these doginal dogs, kind of hard not to be in a space without a doginal dog being in there. That's kind of like where we're at right now. Or on your timeline saying good morning to everybody. Right? Yeah, that's basically what's going down. Is I think the most bullish NFT collection going around.
It's absolutely insane.
It's
I've never
Do you
seen
insane.
guys
anything like
feel
it.
this? This is insane. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know much about NFTs, but I know what it is,
it's
and this
unprecedented.
is just going to the moon.
Yeah,
It's
no,
unprecedented.
there's
Yes,
nothing.
Tick, you're so right.
There's never been anything like this. Like, I mean, you had like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and you had like, you had like
Yeah,
a series of NFTs that got into like popular culture and everything like that. But I haven't seen anything
they're
just like
one.
permeate society like as a whole so much. Like it's just so evident. Whereas with like Bored
And
Ape and
the
everything, yeah,
synchronicity, you guys, because look, this was a free mint a year ago, a little over a year ago. Free mint. Now holding a floor. I think the cheapest one is like 2K or something like that. Anyway, there are dogs being sold for 10K as well, right? There are dogs that cost 20K, depending on their rarity. But to build that up in such a short time and to come, because when you're an NFT collection, maybe you want to put it on the stream, put the Dojo Dogs website up. So it corresponds to what we're talking about. It's that's hard for NFTs because they don't have a chart. So normally for a token, even though an NFT is a non-fungible token, it has a contract, right? The thing is, you don't have a chart that people can look at and be like, hey, you have your art, and art needs to be seen, needs to be on social media, needs to be in spaces, needs to be on timelines. And that's the power. Then all of a sudden you're gonna have community. But here is where a lot of NFTs projects get stuck. And that's because they are not allowed to grow. Sometimes they reach a floor of like 1K, and that's a job well done. But to buy that NFT and be a part of your community,
it's accessibility.
accessibility. So
Hmm.
you are not leveraging any more growth there. You're going to be more exclusive. Now, sometimes exclusivity sells. You see that with the
Right.
Bored Apes, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But this is a community that wants to help each other out, right? So even if you do not have money to buy the NFT, you can start with a starter dog. And this is where the power of this collection really resides. Because there is, especially if you do the Bark media course, how to keep your X account healthy, how to drive more engagement, right? You can all get that. Just change to a starter dog, join the community, right?
Mm.
And that's
Yeah.
why it's so powerful. That's why you see them everywhere. I see Giuliano has his hands up. I do Giuliano first truth because he might have something
Yeah,
to
I
say
just
about it.
wanted to say that, in the last week or so, I've been connecting with not only you, Wilder or Wookie, but with other Doginos. And I have to say that regardless of what is the project about, the people behind, they're amazing. All the one that I'm meeting on spaces, I'm connect, even Edge Space, the one I just came from,
Hmm.
I listened just the last 10 minutes, but I was amused by it because supposed to be NFT crypto stuff. And you go on
Yeah.
Hmm.
spaces of the Doginos and you finish it and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I'm a better person. And it's
That
amazing because of
you
spaces, guys.
you absolutely just hit the nail on the head. That's what does separate this completely from the other, because also the way that the dogs perceive themselves is as a collections community, not necessarily an NFT community. So the fact that it's collectibles, community of collectibles of people together, I feel like, yeah, that sense of community and like and the way that
Also,
people,
very
yeah.
much driven by empowerment, right? I mean, do good, do only good every day, Doge.
Hmm.
Right? It's really driven by that. And so the synchronicity here is that, of course, now Elon started mentioning Doge a lot more, and then the Doginal dogs.
Mm.
I'm like, yeah. And we actually got noticed by Kanye, right? And Bark's been on Joe Rogan because we get noticed everywhere because we're on everybody, replying to everybody all the freaking time, right? So
Hmm.
it's really hard not to. But this is really a community that wants other people to win. and you can win for free with a free starter dog.
Yeah.
But even if you would invest the information that's flowing around in spaces from just the people in the community how willing to share and doing it because they want you to be better as well and do better, because if we do better together we all win. If everybody engages, we grow as a whole, right? It's like an army this way.
Yeah.
So very culty as well, and I kind of like it, right?
And
A cult in the
that's
right sense.
that's the other thing, is that it's people building each other up, because they, the way the incentive is if I help build you up, then we are better together, because now you are stronger, and we can be stronger together because I'm helping build you
Yes.
up. And so that sense of community, so you go into these spaces and people are teaching each other how to use AI and how to optimize their page and how to be successful in one way or another, and even how to do different life hacks, how to improve your sense of well-being throughout your day. And so because it's a community that's focused on all these positive things, it has this, all of a sudden it takes away the whole crypto dynamic, and all of a sudden it's like, no, now I'm I want to belong to something, because it's a group of people that seem like they have like a mindset that's geared towards positivity,
Or
self-improvement, and
bring
this is
your talents, right? Because
yeah.
everybody needs to bring their talents, and if your talent is cooking, then you open a space about cooking, and those little dogs will learn about cooking,
But
right?
there's incentive to
So it's,
do it, yeah, because we we
yeah,
we grow together.
yeah,
As the
like
tide
Truth
rises, the
here.
boats rise together.
Yes, we rise together, and I always, well, Juliana, you always know, I always try to incentivize people to come up and speak, use your voice, don't be shy, right? Because you have something to tell, right? And you have alpha that I might like to know, and it might not be a ticker, but something else. Juliana, you had your hand up. Let's go.
Yeah, nothing. That you know me personally, and I go around a lot of different blockchains, communities, projects. I mean, in cryptos for the real technology, not only for degening or making money overnight. And that's why I'm impressed by your community specifically, guys, because it's very wide, it's very strong. There are so many different people, even people who are not even in cryptos, as you just said. It's amazing because they just have the profile picture and they know that in some ways they're gonna get engagement. And something that as well I wanted to add is that personally, as a person that I am, that I go everywhere, your community, guys, it feels probably the only one that some sui communities as well, but the only one that I go on, and regardless of the crypto you're gonna talk about, people are gonna tell you your opinion. You're gonna be listened. There are some maxi here and there, but majority of people don't care. They wanna listen to you, and that is amazing because I go in some spaces that I have 3 minutes to say what I need to say, and you can barely say what you actually wanted. And you go on the Doginos one, and you maybe want to say something, but you are listening and you are not like, whoa, I don't want to interrupt this amazing topic or speech or conversation. But eventually people, they pull you up and they try to push you to talk. And, it's amazing. It's amazing, guys. Thank you for having me as well.
Well, it's to
Absolutely.
connect back with you, Juliana. I've been trying to get back into Queen spaces, but my schedule changed so much that I'm really like knee deep in work around these hours. But this week I'm going to be off a little bit more due to a little bit of an accidento. And so I'll get to hook up with Queen because I like to know how Sui Basecamp was. I like to, because she must be so elated coming back from Dubai. So I kind of want to, support her space again too. And so, yeah, that's what we're about. Those are the Dojo Dogs. If you think about joining Dojo Dogs, for the people, because this is recorded and the YouTube live stream is recorded too. So people from the future who are listening to this, you can grab a free dog from the website Dojo Dogs, which is if everything's all right, it's on the screen. You can pick a starter dog of your liking. Sometimes these starter dogs are refreshed, and this time it has the blackout version. So it's either black beanie, black cowboy hat, black bow if you're a girl, right? So there's something for everybody. You can get a banner then there too, right? And then I recommend the Bark Media course, so you get to learn how to rebrand yourself on X and how to get monetized on X. And so there is, just for doing that, a lot of value already. I would say even later down the road, if you're interested in buying an NFT, I am not. It of course, the floor is going to rise. That's just going to happen with this collection. But even if it's not an investment, I mean the amount of wealth of knowledge that you sometimes get in these spaces. I mean, that sometimes that's all you can only get those in courses, so you have to pay for those, right? And this is all for free. Free alpha is the best alpha.
Sometimes you might know a lot of stuff being spoken of, but the importance of
Yes.
community is,
Yes. That's why I always say, look, you have something to bring to the table. Bring yourself. There's your alpha within you. So, that's why you got to come up and speak and have conversations. And you would be making yourself better in this way and stronger and more
absolutely.
powerful in this way. So, we're not here just to talk, right? We're here to have conversations and finding things out together. Truth
Oh
is
yeah,
one of
and
those.
reminding each other
Yeah,
because
we're
we
reminding
forget.
each other of that. That's sometimes necessary too. So, Truth, take it away, my guy, because Truth was a little bit shy coming on stage for a few times now already, so he's kind of getting trained now to do it. So, hello, Truth. How are you? How is your day been?
Hey,
Hello,
welcome.
hello.
Good to see you, man.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
What's
hear
up, man?
you.
sweet. How's everybody's day?
Good, man. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday indeed. I had a day off work today. We had bank holiday in the UK, so that was nice.
Hell yeah.
Isn't it something with the 5th of May? So we have like Liberation Day from the Second World War on the 5th of May. Then there is Cinco de Mayo. And in other countries, there's something else. Something
Revenge
magical
of the
about that
Fifth.
5th of May, right? Day off.
We have multiple days a year that we call a bank holiday. I don't know why we do it, but we do it. And everybody's off of work, except from the shops and stuff like that. They're all still open.
Yeah. Well, any day that you get off collectively is a good day, right? I mean, do we really need a reason?
Well,
they
yeah,
can they can
exactly.
call it
It is
whatever.
nice.
They can call it whatever. I see Ciro is on stage too. Hello, Ciro. Your mic is on too. I want to come say hi.
Hey, what's up, Wild and Tick? Everyone here, Giuliano,
Hey, good
Truth,
to see you.
Wage, everyone. How are you guys? I'm fine here. I'm fine chilling with you. Always happy to hearing some alphas from Wild. I always attend her because she's amazing person.
Yes, indeed.
And sometimes I can't, sometimes I can't talk because I'm on my business. Sorry for
That's all right.
that.
I see you and appreciate you, Ciro. I've been in spaces with you, and you have a lot of alpha to spit out too, always. And so I'm always feeling a little bit left out if I cannot join all the spaces. But yeah, I try to do as much as possible. I'm always in lamp space too in the morning, crypto moonlight. That actually starts as like 7 a.m. in my time, but then I already been up for like 2.5 hours, right? So I'm down for
That's the one that's
business.
like 11 p.m. my time, I think.
Yes,
Or
that's a
it's
late
it's
night.
pretty late. Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
I
it's a late
try to
night.
make these spaces, and sometimes you'll see,
Yeah.
maybe you see me pop in. Sometimes I'll pop in for a
Yes, I
little
do.
bit on a drive home or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, see,
but
I just manifested Lamb in this space. I was talking about
oh, there
crypto
he is.
moonlight, and
Speak of the
then
devil.
then the thought is getting being sent out, and Lamb is like, "Oh yeah, we pull up in here,
Yeah, that's
pull up in
awesome.
here."
It's the law of
So, you
attraction.
guys, yes, that's well, yeah, kind of law of synchronicity, or however you want to call it, right? Let's just appreciate it as it
Serendipity.
comes. Serendipity. Let's appreciate it as it comes. See, I have this magic today. I can conjure up people. I've been
Yeah.
conjuring up Sam in
Well, you
Lamb
should
space.
conjure up some tickers.
Yes, that's we need some senders now.
Yeah,
Lamb
that's
is on
oof.
stage.
It's been rough. It's
See,
been so rough for
I
me lately.
I said Lamb 3 times, and here he is. Lamb, take it away.
I'm here. I'm here. Somebody say
What's up,
Dick.
Lamb?
Okay, I'm here. What's up?
I didn't use Dick. I
Covered.
only used that for Sam.
Oh, okay. How's it going for everybody?
Good, man. Good to see you.
What's
Happy
up,
Fine.
Monday.
man?
Happy Cinco de
Yeah,
Mayo.
good man. Good.
Cinco de
Happy Monday.
crypto.
The market took a little bit of a dump there. What are we seeing? Are we
We're
seeing
moving
any
sideways.
opportunities?
I still need to
Yeah.
go over the. We were all about giving flowers, talking about dojo dogs, and lifting everybody
Oh,
up. But yeah,
nice.
it's time to go ahead and go ahead and
Let's
see
get down to
what the market is
business.
doing. Get down to
Let's
business.
do it.
Well,
Let's
of
do
course,
it.
we're waiting for the interest rates on Wednesday, and so I'm not thinking that Bitcoin is going to do any big old moves. There might be some bullishness on Wednesday earlier in the day because I'm thinking that people in the market, therefore, are going to expect that there's going to be the interest rates are being cut, and that's going to be bullish for crypto. So I would anticipate a little bit of a move there. Right now, Bitcoin is actually holding a pretty good floor. Would have I seen 95 floor as a better one? Sure. But nothing's lost
This
above 93, right? So
right.
we're still sitting pretty, yeah. And so Ethereum actually looks green, looks a little bit better than Ethereum beliefs, right? SUI is just
Sui's
outperforming the market
yep,
like it
yep.
always freaking does.
Sui looks awesome right
And
now.
so their ecosystem pulls up too. And then I'm looking at Walrus, looking at Deep, etc. SUI, Send, everything is the green there too. When SUI starts pumping green, the ecosystem, the meme coins, they're all turning green straight up. There is no delay there. Yeah, but if we're looking then at Solana, let's say Solana's a believer holding a good floor there too. Now they're all going to lose their floor if Bitcoin loses this floor. That's just a warning I'm going to give because the dominance is just too freaking high, right? So it's not rising, so we're not seeing any dumps, but it's holding. And so the tokens are going to do follow Bitcoin in every move. And so they just regained some of their own floors.
Mm-hmm.
And if Bitcoin doesn't hold its floor, you can bet your behindy that the rest is going to lose too. And then, that's why I'm thinking Sui so bullish because that's just don't care, right? We're just going to pump anyway. Tao is a token that is absolutely don't care. We're just going to pump anyway, right? And so you see, some Solana's not caring that much, but it's kind of not, kind of
Solana's
it's
maintaining
sitting.
so strong in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because I
Solana
remember
is on, is
it
on
was
this floor
$97.
though.
Remember it was
I know, but
yesterday. It was $97.
but
That was like
sure, but it cannot lose this floor.
yeah.
So Solana's got to hang in there,
The chart
and
is
it's
just
doing
it
so
looks
with little
so great.
volume.
If I
So
was to bet like on anything based just if I knew nothing about crypto, which I don't, but if I was to look at a chart and I would look at the Solana chart, it looks incredibly healthy. Like the trajectory of the chart, it just looks, so a
yes, it looks a little bit more dramatic than some other charts
little bit
that I
more
know.
volatile. Yeah.
Yes, but because it's the dramatic chain.
So
So
it's a
when you
little bit
see
more
that,
volatile than XRP, a little bit
oh yeah,
more volatile
yeah,
than actually no, it's
Apex,
less
right?
volatile than Sui though. Sui's way more
Well,
volatile than Solana. They
yeah,
don't even
Sui is a
compare.
very much lower market cap, right? So
Yeah,
we cannot really because
it's
Sui
apples to
doesn't have
oranges.
it doesn't have a lot of resistance, but it doesn't have a lot of support in the chart either. That's what new tokens do. They're going to find their floors, and that's why it can outperform. That's why it can go around that market pressure a little bit.
And just
But
jump up.
the rest is gotta kiss the behind of Bitcoin this way. Also Solana. So Solana cannot lose this floor, else the next floor will be 131 again, right?
Yeah,
That
and then we'll
range,
be back down to the
136.
120, 125 zone again, right? If
Yeah,
it falls
right.
through there.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do see as well 120, guys, if we don't hold the 140
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's
very
it.
easily.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'll
So
be
we
stuck there.
have that zone. We have that zone that was hard resistance, and we took it. And now it's got to retest and hold as support. And for Bitcoin, same thing, right? Same thing. And that's right now you see that because the dominance is so high. That's kind of not a rule for every token. You got to hold your
Mm-hmm.
floor,
And
or else we're
it's
looking
going
down.
up too. The
Yeah,
dominance.
but not. But
It's right in the
no,
middle,
not.
right?
Well, look, going up dominance on the daily, it's already a lot if it does like a 0.3% or something like that. That would be a lot for in a day.
Mm.
And you saw when the dominance is rising on a day, 0.5%, Bitcoin pumping,
Oh.
you're also dumping, right? That's the rule. So that's
Oh,
why
so
it's
it's
so
gonna pull
important to look.
back. It's gonna
No, well,
the
here's what
dominance is gonna
happens.
reverse.
Well, we at one point it will, and then we get this is my view at charting the dominance chart
Mm-hmm.
because we're not charting a token here. We're not TAing a token.
Right.
We're TAing the dominance of the crypto market,
So
right?
it's a
Of
more of a
Bitcoin.
macro, yeah, much more of a macro
So yes,
look, I
so
guess.
looking on the lower time frames, like these people who scream alt season all the freaking time, they even screamed it yesterday. I'm like, how can you?
I'm looking at 30 minutes right now on the time frame.
I generally use for the dominance at least a weekly, but
Yes.
even monthly chart.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
that is the weekly is the
Thank you.
minimum generally for the.
See, I'm learning.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm on
Lower
weekly,
time frame
and you just see it
would be
rising. Yeah.
daily. Yes, because the people who scream alt season, they always post a 1 minute chart, and then you see that coming down. Yeah, alt season. It's like no, this
Oh, and
that
like the
move.
macroeconomics are going to move billions of dollars
Yeah, well, that
per
move
minute.
of that red on the chart was just 0.01%. That's not
Physically
alt season.
impossible.
Yeah, right.
So
It's not
if
alt
I can add, while there, I don't even have the chart in front of me, but because I remember it very much, the dominance. I
Yes.
remember the
Mhm.
last time we were around 63, we had that drop around 57. And at that
Yes.
point,
Yeah.
I was quite bullish for alt season because
Lo-
at that point we were approaching the lower 50, and that point it was interesting, but we
Yes.
didn't get there.
right,
No,
right.
and
So
we saw
from there, for me, it's like every time is like we need to see a massive drop in dominance very
yes,
quickly. 2 weeks, two red candles in the dominance.
Mhm.
yes,
Otherwise,
big
it's
ones.
very tough.
And
You
then we're
know
in
when
alt
alt
season.
season happen. You will see it on a dominance chart. It's a dramatic drop.
A couple
And right
big red
now, with this,
candles.
what it did was,
Yeah.
and that's why at one point that alt season started trending again, and I was at the point where it met that overall long resistance. So there's a diagonal resistance in the chart. If you look on the daily or weekly, you can put that diagonal line on there.
Mm.
And we were expecting to get rejected there, but it didn't. It hopped over, tested it as support, and just kept climbing, right? And I kind of saw that happen because it didn't jive with the price of Bitcoin at the time. Because well, where we want to see all season is when Bitcoin is very, very high, that the max that it can get. And then we want to see that dominance go up, 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 like 70%. Because the harder that goes up, the harder it will fall. The more money will be into the
Mm.
ecosystem. So I would be I was like, stop screaming about alt season. Don't jinx this. I don't want to have alt season with Bitcoin 100K. I want the market cap of Bitcoin to be 5 trillion when that happens.
Yeah, that's just
That's two or
fudding.
three,
That's just
two,
people
three.
trying to get
I need
discount
three.
bags.
Yeah, I want 3-4 trillion more for us as volume to come in. Not this shit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
No, I
not
think
what I paid
it's
for.
such a good strategy too, though. Tell everyone it's alt season. 2 months ago, it's alt season. You guys,
Yeah.
and get everyone to start, selling their Bitcoin now. And that's probably what happened when Bitcoin fell down to 77 just this
I don't
last.
think it's that. I think it's more of an engagement trick, like
Mm,
to keep people engaged in crypto,
true.
to get people to hold their position, right? While I think that doesn't make sense. You should be honest about these things. You should teach people what the dominance of crypto, Bitcoin, is really about, and teach them how it has its own cycle. So I've had this. Maybe I should pin it up because it's somewhere in my um,
But
thingy. But
front
Edge
running is
Edge.
definitely a thing in crypto, though. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
what I mean.
here's
And
here's the alpha
mhm.
in the dominant cycle.
Oh,
If
do you want
you
me to pin the dominance chart?
can you do that for me?
Yeah,
That
I
would
have it
be
saved in
beautiful.
bookmarks. I'll pin it.
Thank you. So here is a very good. So if you hold any alts, because everybody is like, why are you talking about Bitcoin dominance? I don't have Bitcoin. And it's like, all right, but
No
if
matter what you
Bitcoin has
hold, that
dominance, the
that
market is
it's gonna impact you.
respond to that in certain ways. And
Mhm.
so maybe you want to wait till it's pinned, and then you can throw it up on the screen, and then I'll start explaining
Yeah,
from there.
it's up there.
All right. So Tick, if you can get it in the stream, then yeah. If Tick confirms it on the screen, then we'll start,
Give
and
me
then I'll
two
let Edge
seconds.
talk now because he has his hands up. Edge, what's up?
Oh, I got a theory. Okay, so it's about Bitcoin and altcoins, right? And one theory I have is that the government wants to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can.
Absolutely.
So how could they possibly do that? And I think that if they use the volatility
Mm-hmm.
and still create, paint a downtrend, a slight downtrend, they will keep people in the coins thinking that it will go up
Yep.
as the government times the bottoms. The crazy wicks down
I
we've
think
seen.
it's not the government because the government needs Bitcoin.
They
Bitcoin has
move
someone.
so much now,
Someone.
though.
Nah, it's us as a collective, right? So Bitcoin has a massive amount of holders. Now there's some bigger holders and smaller holders like I am, right? But it's the collective that does this. But and that's why emotions in crypto is such a big deal, because that's all based on sentiment. All based on sentiment.
True.
Except for the freaking dominance that should tell you where the money is. Right now, everybody's money is in the Bitcoin. Daddy Bitcoin will pump first because it's the biggest shareholder in crypto, right? It has the lion's share of things. And everybody will trade that one first, make money there, go to the layer ones, go into the layer one ecosystem, go to the meme coins, go to the narrative tokens, and et cetera, et cetera. Right? So up here, we have that dominance cycle. And to explain that a little bit quickly, we saw when it happened last week, Bitcoin was pumping, alts were dumping. Why? Well, because the Bitcoin dominance went up. And the rule is Bitcoin dominance up, BTC up, your alts will decrease. Not a big dump, but a decrease, right? They weren't pumping along, and everybody is like, why am I going up bumpy? Bitcoin's bumpy. Okay, but here's why. Okay, when Bitcoin dominance increases, but Bitcoin decreases, altcoins dump along with Bitcoin. And now here's the
But
kicker,
that's
right?
because the money moves over to Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. So they were waiting for a dip on Bitcoin. They're not going to buy anything else, right? And it's kind of like the pressure on the market is there. And then your alts will take a bigger hit. Why would they take a bigger hit? Are there more sellers there? No, not per se. They're lower market cap, so they're more volatile to the downside. So it can be the exact same amount of sellers having a larger impact because the market caps are lower. And that's why you were in there, because you want that upside potential to be just a little bit more, right? Than Bitcoin can. So here we go. When Bitcoin dominance increases and Bitcoin stabilizing in price, your alts will stabilize with Bitcoin. When Bitcoin dominance decreases and Bitcoin is pumping, that's alt season. And what is happening there then? Well, people are buying Bitcoin now, so why is Bitcoin going? We should, right? Yes, because retail is coming in. That's the moment retail comes in, and that's the biggest pump on Bitcoin. That's where it tops out. That's where alt season starts, right? On that flip, when Bitcoin's topped out, on that down, and the dominance is decreasing, then your alts are pumping insane. And we saw a relief rally of that happening in November, when we dropped 7-8% in the dominance, and everybody was having a party, and that was just 7-8%. And what did people call it? The influencers call it there? It's alt season. No, that was not alt season. It was great. I love the pumps, but that wasn't alt season. I would be very disappointed if that was just all that was. If Bitcoin decreases, Bitcoin dominance decreases, and this is what you find in the bear market, and Bitcoin decreases, then your alts remain stable for a little bit. And that's the tricky thing that is the same in reverse for the increase, and then the decrease in the alts, right? It's the other way around. When Bitcoin dominance decreases, Bitcoin is stable, your alts increase, and that's at the tail end of that alt season. So save that dominance cycle, understand, because Bitcoin, even though you're not holding Bitcoin, actually has a lot to do with your portfolio and how it behaves. So when you know that Bitcoin is doing a pump, and then you're looking at the dominance you're also pumping with, you might want to take some profit, because it's not all season yet, right? So you might want to scalp a baggie. You might want to, because if Bitcoin doesn't hold the floor, these altcoins are going to take a little bit of a bigger hit. And that's fine. Then you have liquidity to buy a bigger dip. And that's a good thing. Giuliano.
Yeah, I wanted to say that one point that, in my opinion, is very important to understand is, and this is for any financial market, crypto is one of them, is the liquidity, how it works liquidity, and why it's very important to understand it, because in this case, the money liquidity that there is in crypto is the total market cap of cryptos. And as you were saying, when Bitcoin goes up, means that the whole crypto total market cap is going up. But at the same time, the alt season is when the Bitcoin market cap goes up, the pump is supported by new buys coming in, but the actual profit is moved so the liquidity is moved into the alts, and this thing
Yes.
happens constantly. That's why now people are waiting just for the new pump of money from governments, and now happen a little bit with China. A few European governments started, UK is starting as well. They're just everyone just waiting for to see, in my opinion, what this trade war is gonna actually take, where it's gonna go, because
Yeah.
it's a bit risky. But once this one is gonna settle, I'm sure. That's why I was on a space earlier. Somebody said, "Oh yeah, before probably the beginning of summer we might see pumps." I don't think so, because we already spoke about this, Wilder, and we
Yeah.
agreed that if it doesn't happen this month, a pump in the price, I don't see that happening in July, bro. No, in August, I
And
don't
this
see
is,
that happening.
we've been talking about this since like February, didn't we? Somewhere in the wintertime, we discussing like, you know what, we got to do something in May because summertime is never a good time, and everybody keeps the hopium alive every year again for it, and get stuck and stomped out because at one point prices will then start to fall, and it's like what's happening? We're all going to die. So your strategy should be based on what you see happening. Now I can see Bitcoin challenging the all-time high. Yes, I can see that. That's still very much in the cards. Actually, Bitcoin is behaving like I predicted it would, but I do not see another all-time high in May. I just don't see it. And so, I will look for it if there are signs pointing me in that direction. But I don't see it on the RSI. I don't see that we have enough steam. And that is fine too, because then you should have your strategy ready. The Bitcoin dominance will probably drop a little bit from the previous all time high, and we get some relief rally going. Everybody gets like a nice little pumpy, maybe not as thrilling as it was in November, but everything will pull up a little bit. We all will feel good about the green, and then we'll slowly go into summer, and just the illusion will be bust again, that we're going to pump in the summer, and then people are going to slowly rotate out, and then you can buy some blood. So my strategy is not financial advice to anybody else. When I see that all-time high, I'm going to scalp some alts just in case, right? And then see, and maybe on the second pump I'll scalp them harder, and I'm going to stay liquid till I see floors that are much more interesting, much more lower buys. So everybody is always like, buy the dip. What are you going to buy the dip from? With? You got to work more fiat. Going to go out, mine more of that fiat? No. You scalp your bags. You stay liquid, right? Until you can make use of the opportunities that are eventually going to unfold over the summer. And then I'm thinking Q4, depending on the floor Bitcoin is going to hold, I can see us making an all-time high there, or a better attempt at an all-time high. So long-term predictions are a little bit tricky like that, right? We just keep
Welcome to Ask Shaking
doing our
Season.
TA,
You are in a
because it's
villa
never
where the
really
sun never
100%
set.
bullish. It's never really 100% bearish. There's always a percentage that leans more to bullish or bearish in any scenario. And so we gotta always be real, looking at the chart and say like, all right, it's good that we hold this floor, but if we go to this number, I might change my tactic, right, for the coming time. Right? I might just behave a little bit differently than I thought I would. Um, in case that happens, I'm going to be ready because I see it, unsee. And you got to be truthful with what you see, or else you're just going to be a delusional bull. And sometimes the delusional bull works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you just got to be blind believer in something and just be like, I don't care. I'm just going to huddle on. Even if I'm not having any liquidity, if the dip is down, right? I'm just going to huddle on. That could be a strategy too. But for most people, that will not feel good if your bags are down, and you got to have happy bags that you feel good about, or else you're going to feel like you lost. And the thing is, you haven't lost a damn thing, because the bag is potential, as always. Ed, you had your hand up, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
How do you manage FOMO, when you scalp and you exit trades, how do you manage that? It could go up even more, the big pump could come tomorrow and you
Sure.
exit the trade. How do you manage that?
So you need to, first of all, ditch the illusion that you're having about buying the Pico bottom and selling the Pico top. You can possibly market make a chart yourself if you're a big ass whale with tons of money, especially in Bitcoin. But other than that, you cannot manipulate any chart to your benefit. So start releasing the thought of selling the Pico top, because as soon as that red candle comes down, that's not Pico top anymore, and you're just gonna sit there, especially when the volatile tokens come. When that red comes, you can be down 40% from that top in no time, right? So start focusing on selling in a pump. Start practicing that. And then you start to feel that, oh, it's not that bad, even if I am 10% for the top. I didn't know where that top went, but I took profit. And now the dip comes, I feel happy. I can buy dip. And then eventually you be a cheap ass like me. You're selling close to the top because you get better at these things, right? But you never get better if you don't execute your selling mechanism, right? If you do not practice that. So you got to practice that. You'll get better at it. And then you have more of a feel for it. And so you can sell closer to the top. But, hitting Pico tops is like a bonus. It's like cherry on the cake. But I already have the cake. And then at one point you'll be cheap ass like me and being like, yes, you see a good dip and you're like, yeah, I kind of wanted to go down even more. And then sometimes you gotta miss the train.
Yeah, I'm
And
like that
that's
too.
a yeah. That's,
100%.
you get bullish on dips if you sold. You don't get bearish. You're just getting more bullish on it. And I rarely
Mm-hmm.
FOMO because I know I'm not gonna sell the Pico top. If I do, it's the cherry on the cake. But I got to make sure the cake. Got to bake the bread. Got to bake the cake. The cake needs to be in already. Or
Can't
else,
be
what am I
greedy.
here for? That's the thing.
That's
You want the cake with the cherry. Well, I'm satisfied with just cake too.
yeah.
And if I,
And
sometimes get a cherry with it, I'll just like hell yeah. But I'm already winning.
yeah, are you familiar with that AI bot? It's like Jimmy Bets. It's an AI bot that places bets on like sporting games online, and it actually has like a pretty decent like hit rate, and it
Yeah.
uses like stats and analytics to place its bets on sports games. But the thing about it is that it's profitable because it takes, what does it do? It's like it knows when to take profit. Basically, I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it applies with selling your crypto, but there is like
Yeah.
some sort of correlation. And like
Yes. What
anyway,
is what
the
is the
bot
strategy?
the bot
What would
sells
the
though
strategy be in crypto then? Well, we know the strategy in crypto, Tick. You
to sell
DCA
when
in.
you're
You
up.
DCA out.
Right, a little
But the
bit at a
DCA
time. Yeah,
out,
take 10%, take 20%. Just
yes,
like you
on a
went in.
pump. Yes. But the thing is that you DC out a little bit more quicker than you DCA in, because when you look at a chart, the chart is on the floor more than it is in an up.
Mm-hmm.
So it just means that you gotta, every time it pumps, you gotta do some selling there. That's required. And you start with selling 10%, and then you increase that on the waves. That's what you do. And DCA should be you're going in with the least amount, and the biggest amount should be where you think a floor is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then if your bag is, if it goes down a little bit more, you should be liquid enough to add to that bag, to add to the position. So when it pumps, you're in profit right away. And then when things pump 30%, how have you ever, except for a new launch, how have you ever seen an alt token pump 300% a day if we're not in alt season?
Yeah, 300%
Tars
in a
AI
day. Yeah.
pumped 40%, is now back to its floor.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have taken, when that thing was pumping 2 days in a row, you should have been taking 10% here, 20% here,
Mm-hmm.
3 times a day, right? So you would have had a good average of profit. And then when you practice this, you kind of get a sense for where the top is going to be, because you're kind of looking at the chart a little bit more. You look to your left a little bit more. You see resistance a little bit more, right? And so you get confident a little bit more. But you got to 95% of people in crypto do not sell. So that just tells you the odds are against you. You got to, you know, practice your selling.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you do that. Buy something of $10, and when you see a pump, you start selling $1, $1, $1. You got to practice that muscle. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous and really like, you want me to do it with $10? I'm like, no, you got to practice that sell button, because it's just like when you get trained to put out a fire. Yeah, there's a reason that we simulate things, because in case of when it gets highly emotional and we might fear to do something, to actually take that freaking thing. And now, I might not if I never practiced it, because I'm actually afraid to use the thing that can put out the fire. So
Yeah.
we practice this shit, right? So we
Yeah.
can respond quickly.
I
Yeah.
love it when I can
Same
find
thing.
two coins that are alternating, and I can rotate into alternate, like
Yeah.
every two or
Against them.
4 hours. Yeah, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
watch
It's
the
really
total
nice.
value go up over time. Like 30%
Yes. I
here,
kind
thirty
of do
percent
that with
here.
Sui and Tao, because they tend to outperform. So they move against the market, and then just to toss it back in there. But I see Giuliano has his hands up.
Nice.
Giuliano.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that in my opinion, first of all, people they need to understand when you are trading, regardless, as you said, you need to have already a exit strategy if you are trading. So all my yards back, for example, even if I'm investing in them, I already have my exit strategy. Bitcoin is my long-term investment. I will never sell. I always say it. I don't care the price. So when it goes down, I just start to buy a lot. When in the chart, my long-term chart goes a certain level, I start to buy. Otherwise, I don't care. But the rest, I always have exit price. So Ethereum, I'm accumulating Ethereum since it lost the 2000. Now I have the exit price already. All my bag, I know already where I'm gonna sell it. I might miss the top, but that's the point. As Wilder said, it happened to me only once in one chart, guys, that I bought at the bottom and I sold basically at the top. Only once, and I'm a degen. That means that I'm literally every day on Pump Fun or some shit, trying to look for some bullshit to make a 2x. I am fucking like that.
Giuliano is my type of guy. He's like a Bitcoin maxi, just like me. But we channel our inner degen often.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually getting, because I've been trading for such a long time, so I'm actually pretty good at selling on a wick even, right? But I'm pushing my luck there too. And so when it happens, it's more like a challenge for me to do it than that it is for profit, because I know that it's not needed for me to make profit. You got to think in profit and not something that pico top. Profit is freaking profit. You take it and you don't feel bad if the thing's pumping on. Bless everybody who sells in that pump, right? Bless them, right? Good. I got blessed too, and I live to trade another day. I'm in the plus. My portfolio 40x, more than 40x over the last 2 3 years. So and that's even without me trading. That's just DCA strategy right there, straight up, because I make use of that strategy as well. And but that's all. 100% of people can buy crypto, and 95% of them, it's either one, are not selling. That should tell you. That should warn you to not just sit there and be hypnotized by a green candle. You got to sit there and be like, profit is knocking on my door. I got to push this button and sell. And you got to have, if we're in alt season, and I think Lamb can concur this, things will pump so quickly, right? That if you do not have positions you DCate in, you're going to be top blasting all the fucking time, because you're going to chase these pumps. So first of all, don't do that, right? And it is so easy to just, because these pumps are epic, to just sit there and watch it all without moving your little finger on your phone or your mouse right on your computer or laptop to sell. But the thing is, these pumps don't last forever. They come quickly. Things can pump for 2 weeks, then done. Sometimes for a week, then done. Some will take a month, done. Do you know? Do I know? No, I'm here for profit, not to sell the Pico top. I don't necessarily know where that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then don't FOMO. Don't FOMO anymore. You made money. What's the problem, right? You got to be satisfied. You got to be profit maxi and stop trying to be optimizing where you're not ready to optimize. You first got to stabilize that behavior of selling in profit, and then you're going to try to sell for the most profit possible, and then you're going to optimize that even more and optimize that even more, and you're going to optimize your portfolio. But first you got to bring in the behavior of selling, because the numbers tell you that you probably are not. And everybody's like, yeah, but I will. Yeah, well, the number says 94, 95%. So in all probability you will not. So it gives you the info of what you should be practicing right now is your sell muscle.
Psychology, I would say too, because 90% of trading, I would say, is psychology, and a lot of
Oh,
people don't know about the psychological analysis.
trading is very boring, and it should be very boring, and it is very boring. If you trade and learn what to do, you practice your buying muscle, your selling muscles, right? And you're making profit, and you're making more profit, you're optimizing. At that point, it gets boring, because I know price is going to come back. I know again. I know it will pump again. It's not. I'm not getting swayed by emotions in the moment, right? And sometimes I do still FOMO. I find it funny when I do, and when I do, it's usually when I degen. Always when I degen. But with my alts, no, there is absolutely no FOMO. There is a strategy. There's a plan. There are no emotions about it. I planned for all of this to happen. I have my portfolio set up the way. If you do not have a portfolio set up, you're like, yeah, I'm just, here and there. No, you got to structure that thing, and you got to think about it, tweak it, and optimize it. So, and you got to also have a portion. My portion is always 20 or 30% staying liquid. So when something else comes along, I'll be like, yes, I can make use of that new opportunity. That's the thing. So you do not have to sell a position and accidentally maybe top last, because sometimes that still happens to me too. But I did it with money that didn't, wasn't for any other token. I didn't have to sell a position for it, and I get wrecked. In order not to get wrecked, you got to stay liquid. Yeah. With that said, we're Giuliano, and then we're gonna move on for a ticker, you guys, because I kind of feel
So
like I'm
I
preaching.
will be very quick. I tell you my quick story about taking profit, and and it's very very funny for myself.
Giuliano,
So you should laugh.
tell an
Yes,
entertaining story of how you made profit, because I'm gonna make an espresso. Let's go.
let's go. So probably Peanut the squirrel for the people listening. Yeah, he reached an all-time high of 2.8 billions market cap, and is on Solana. He's been shielded by Elon Musk at the time during the election, and nothing. I bought it on day one at 50K, guys. At 50K, I had 1.4 millions. Okay, fucking peanut that day.
Wow.
I was on a but hold it, because when I'm degening, I have strategies. That means that when I start degening, I have my strategy. And if I follow it, period, that means I try to lose the least money possible, because you lose money with degening. You need to be real unless you're insider. So from 50K, it dropped at 17. People, they call it, they sold for a loss. I held because I know that generally when, pump fund token, they always have another pump. So it was around 50K. I was like, yeah, let's break even. I made $4 on that trade. In less than 2 weeks, I would have become a multimillionaire from $80 that I put. I took profit. I took $4 profit, guys. And you know what? The same day I took a step away. I mean, for 2 days I took a step away, because after 2 days was like a 2.5 million. After 5 days was at 200 million, guys. I was there like, no fucking way. But the week after, because I took a week break, I made like 4 grand from $200. So, eventually it's all about mindset. So I look at that as a proof that I can find that kind of tokens. But the problem is finding it and stick to it. Because once you start to take profit and you are degening, bro, is hard. It's hard. That's why taking profit is important. But sometimes I wish I didn't. I really wish I did.
I've been there.
but I'm still degening. So you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm making more money from trading Bitcoin. I always say I regularly trade leverage Bitcoin. That is my chart. That is what I generally trade. Swing trade on Bitcoin are my thing. I don't know. I regularly every 2-3 weeks I close a position that is making me decent money. I trade a lot of alts as well, but as Wilder was saying, my trading portfolio is like 10% of my whole portfolio, and 25% of my whole portfolio is spot Bitcoin. As I said, I bought it when it would drop below the 80 now. I'm not buying it at 90 because I'm looking at the price. I'm like, you fucking kidding me. You fucking kidding me. I wait 2 years and we're gonna be see, to against 70 and people are like, oh,
Juliano,
Bitcoin is a scam.
first of all, I got a nice Italian espresso, so salute here. A little pick me up. I knew you were going to tell the peanut story. there is some there's some trauma there. I know. I have my Pepe story, right? But you this is the thing, you guys. I see a lot of posts. I think Murat made that famous post like, oh, you take $50 and turn it into 1 million. Here's what you do: you flip the bag, you sell it. Now you have 100, and then you're gonna buy and then sell it for 200, and then for 400. Now, of course, on paper this makes total sense. However, 99% of the new pairs and meme coins that are out there are getting rugged. So by the time you hit maybe 800, well done if you get there. One rugs and then you're back to zero, right? So that strategy is not workable at all, and the odds are so much against you. Now, I was degening. I was big on XRP, and I was saying that I want to buy a meme token, and they were like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get rugged," right? So I was like, "Now I have a strategy, right? I have a stop loss, just like always." And so I bought Pepe. I bought Pepe on day number 2 or 3, and I got in there with a little bit much. In the beginning, when I started to degen, I would take like 2-3 thousand and just started buying stuff on ETH. But anyway, Pepe was there, and then Pepe, the first 2 weeks of Pepe just went down slowly. It did that first initial little pump, I think, to like 500K market cap or something like that, something, and then started just to go down. Now, what happens if you buy at 400K market cap or 300K market cap and it comes down to 150K? You just lost half your money, basically, right? You're seeing that bag is now cut in half. So at one point you got to call in your stop loss. The thing is not moving. It's been 2 weeks. What's happening? Nobody in the TG, right? Not much going on. You're just like, all right, by all my rules, I need to sell. And I did. I didn't sell all. I kept 25% of the bag in there simply because I was like, all right, if this bitch is still going, I can get at least my money back. And I did, and I made a good profit because then it just started pumping like insane. And that took about 3-4 weeks for that top to come in because that's how quick it goes. Something like Pepe, right? And so did I sell the Pico top? Then no, I sold somewhere halfway, made a good profit there, very good profit, but I could have made so much more, right? Could have made so much more, but I had to stick with my rules because usually the rules are actually what's saving me a lot of the times in these risky plays. So I cannot do just toss in 1K in every token for the one out of 100 or maybe the one out of 1,000 that does the numbers. I mean, first of all, I don't have that kind of money. And even if you would do that with just $10, it's still not going to make a .com. You're going to be liquidated before you come to that one that's going to send. Right? So it's not really a good strategy. So you got to have some rules when you're being a degen. You cannot write everything to zero, right? And you got to look at some tokens and what they need to do, and you got to look at these things. If it doesn't, nothing's, I don't know anything about the project. TG is dead, the X is dead, chart is going down. What does that tell you? Well, I should sell. Yeah, and the one time you do it, like with Pepe, because a lot of people thought that Pepe was pumping from day one. No, it was not. It was absolutely not. Sometimes the initial, you see that a lot with those runners. They first start to linger. I learned that the good ones, they first start to linger. They can linger for even be asleep for 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden the pump comes. Yeah, you guys. I was in the yeah, that's the story. I mean, still, when I see Pepe, I still kind of, there's a part of me that is just like, yeah. And you want to know the funny thing about it? I said it to somebody from XRP. I was like, look, XRP, did very well for me, but I'm gonna get so freaking rich in a meme token. I said that in the Discord, and just to have fun, just made a joke, but I said it out loud. And then that was the day before I actually got Pepe. So
Well,
the thing is, if I would have held it, I would have manifested that prophecy that I made. How crazy is that?
true.
But yeah, you guys, you see, all will
Anyway, I
come
want to say
gonna
I
get
feel
rich
good
anyway.
about Peanut Wilder because I
Yeah,
followed my strategy. So
yeah,
in
you
the end,
follow, but
some people lost money on that trade. I still made $4. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Some people closed a lot of losses. So fuck it. Let's go.
a different way to look at it. You stuck by your rules, and these rules worked for you. They work for you 80% of the time. So you gotta execute based on your rules. And just for that one runner that you do not then get, all right, you cannot toss all of your rules just because of that. That's just you were still in crypto based on your rules, or else Peanut would have never been on your radar anyway. So that's that. So I like to bring the conversation back to a ticker because I'm still bullish on that monad. And now that I have some new people in the house here, possibly people from the future who are gonna listen to it on YouTube or the recording of this space, we've been talking about monad for a little. Giuliano, you heard about monad?
I've seen it in the timeline, but I haven't actually checked it.
You,
There is too much
I'm gonna,
stuff
I'm gonna,
going.
I'm gonna make it so bullish for you. I'm gonna make you so bullish. I'm gonna make you FOMO.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell my Bitcoin for it now. Yeah.
No, I don't think you're gonna sell your. I would never sell my Bitcoin either. So I would understand if you do not sell Bitcoin for it, but it would come across your mind. You will not execute it, but think about it. No. So I know everybody's bullish on Sui because of the parallel scaling and the new things that Sui are doing. Of course, Sui is very bullish. And they have their own coding language, which is a little bit easier. They're doing a good job at training developers using their Move language. Fantastic. But Monad is coming for it. Why? Monad is now going to be, it's in testnet still. I'm going to tell you about how to get these airdrops and some free mints on NFTs. But Monad is going to be the layer that does parallel scaling with EVM compatibility. Yes, Giuliano. Developers can just use the language that everybody is kind of used to. 80% of the builders in this space are used to Solidity, right? And so, very bullish because now EVM compatibility can be scaled parallel too. Are you bullish, Giuliano?
Do you wanna laugh? I'm already into a project that is already launched the mainnet. That is like very similar. Is a basically a vertical layer one. It's called Super, and that is doing something very similar. Basically, it's already mainnet, and
Mm.
I got a lot of token
Yes.
because I've been into the pre-launch. I
Yes.
mean, I'm bullish on that kind of technology in cryptos because I think bridging
Guess
is
who?
the.
Guess whose venture capital is behind Monad?
Tell me.
Circle, FTM.
Can I be okay? Can I be
The
honest with you?
same, the
With
same,
Circle,
the same as Sui.
I know. In fact, that's why with Sui, I'm gonna take a lot of profit in this cycle because can be honest with Circle with all
I
of you
know,
guys.
I know how you feel about Circle. I see the same. I see the same, definitely. But we cannot deny that the touch that they have, right? The touch that they did with Solana, the backing they gave to Sui now, and Coinbase as well. In that regards, do I like venture capital? No, I hate venture capital. I do, but we gotta look at it realistically. And if I come from a moral high ground like that, I will probably not make any money in crypto.
Let's say this is an alpha because anyway, is definitely bullish as a thing
Yeah.
because it is bullish as the fact that Circle is backing up this new layer one. I believe it will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, can you pin post something on the Jumbotron?
Yes.
So I'm gonna start to have a proper look as well.
Yeah. Probably have a proper look. So, Tick, are you still alive, my friend?
Yes. Yeah, I was
Tick is
looking at the
buying meme
monad.
tokens and pump fun. So.
I was doing that too. Yeah.
Yes, I see. I know you. I felt it. Like Dick is bored. He's like, fuck it. I'm just gonna DJ and pump fun. Let them talk about layer ones and Bitcoin all they like.
I was trying to mint some NFTs at the same time.
Yeah,
There's,
cool. So can we pull up the Monad website again so we can so people learn how to use the faucet, because we're still in testnet for Monad.
Such a nice website. I like it.
Yeah. And so pull it up, and Giuliano, you can either go to the live stream recording whenever you feel like it, and go to the moment what the website is, or do I have something in my post about it? No, not recently. But you can go to the Monad website. It's monad.xyz, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Monad.xyz. Yes.
Yes, .xyz. And then you can go to the faucet. Of course, you're going to have to connect your wallet. It will then set it to the testnet of Monad. You need to have $55 worth, or that's what it is kind of out today, 0.03 ETH in your wallet, and you need to have done previous transactions with ETH. I think 3 also. So you cannot use like a fresh new wallet, right? So, and there you can go and get Monad from the testnet every 6 hours from that faucet. Now, there's other ways to get these Monad tokens as well, which we found out about this morning in Lamp Space. There's always also some free mints of NFTs that we came across. Right? So Giuliano, for you, everybody else who wants to learn about Monad, please visit the website. You possibly will start seeing it more in your timeline as well. I started seeing it more and more in the trenches, in the TG trenches. I heard it more and more, so that's why I started talking about it. Because if I see that combination, I get a little bit alerted, as I was with CE, as I was with Sui when Sui was test netting it. So, um, could be nothing, could be something. I think it's something because of the venture capitals now be starting to get behind it, and of course there's some people of the team that I'm trying to reach. I'm in the Discord, but I just didn't have time today to go ahead and start a conversation there. Yeah, so there's some free NFTs, because what happens in testnet? Well, I like to test things, right? So they want you to do that, and see, there's actually some free mints that you can do. Take it. I don't know if you can pull that up on your screen too. I saw that Lam was opening the microphone. Lam, have you minted some new stuff?
Not today. I have not, but I just posted their pinned post from Monad's X page up to the top, so that if people want to actually get the official link from their bio to the correct website, just an easier way to do that if you aren't seeing it on the live stream there. I just wanted to share that up there. But yeah, I'm going to be definitely getting stuff from the faucet today and doing some more free mints, because I think that any and all interactions with this brand new layer one and their testnet will be beneficial in the long run and will be rewarded. So following accordingly.
Yes.
I'm not wasting a lot of time on it, but every day, a little look here and there, keeping up with it, I think is well worth it with these brand new layer ones, because you never know what these are going to turn into.
You never know, and you're out there, new territory. Could be something, could be nothing, but if it is something, it was worth that little effort that you need to do for it. Basically, I think it's also good to start. If it is something, you already been moving, you have it in your wallet, you've been moving in their testnet, so adapting to main. You do not have to go to any boarding process, right? You're already there, and so that's an advantage too. I noticed that being in CE and SUI in their testnets too, that's really bullish, right? You're already there, and so that's always like such a psychological barrier sometimes for things, right? To get something. People are like, yeah, I'll go on that chain. And how easy it is to set that chain to your MetaMask wallet, right? Everybody pushes the can down the road. Giuliano.
I wanted to ask you if it's okay with you if I'm gonna DM you the one that I've been into it. If you wanna give me a feedback, I think they're
Sure.
very bullish as well. What they're building.
I'm always
Maybe
looking at, I'm looking at new stuff. And I like it because I code in Solidity. And I learned how to code in Move. I'm still learning a lot about Move. But yeah,
what
Solidity
about
is,
Rust?
I'm not good at Rust. Rust is, it's like I don't see the trees in the forest with
I
Rust.
don't honestly to me it's like I that's what I say generally when people ask me, "Oh, do you do any of this thing?" I say, guys, I love pussy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if anyone take offense for this statement, but seriously, guys, growing up, I was going out. I was doing a lot of things. When I was 20, 15, I was fucking. My dick was always hard everywhere. Seriously, and boners everywhere. I don't know. That's how I spent my youth.
Well, that's, yeah, you're not wrong. Over informative, possibly, but not wrong. Yeah, right? Well, that kind of took me out of the out of
Oh, you're right, dude.
the
I'm sorry, by respect, and I need people like that because I wouldn't be here in this space if
Yes.
people like Vitalik Buterin were not doing what they did at 16, 15 years old. So thank you, guys. Thank you,
Yes,
all of you.
exactly. Yes. It's about, I have a daughter that's a teenager. It's really challenging because I know how boys are.
Yeah,
And but she's like a full-on nerd, and she only talks to other nerds, so I feel very comfortable. Even though I'm watching the nerd boys too, because they have hormones as well.
true.
So I just got to get a weapon that's just.
I mean, did you see the kid at the time? They in the trenches ragged for $30,000 live on Pump Fund. Come on, it didn't look like a kid that in real life he was having a lot of friends.
Yeah, yeah, right. But yeah, that's how. So I see that Tick also put in the jumbotron the link tree for
Hmm.
Monad, and I think we have the links up there now for all the mints that we found.
Yeah,
Am
we
I
got
right?
Rebels, and there's the Rebels Mint, and then there's also the Unit chain. What is it? I was doing it last night too, but yeah, on Faucet Nerzo.xyz. There's
Yes.
all sorts of stuff that you can take advantage of with the
Yes.
free mints. Highly recommend it. It doesn't take for me. I had a little bit of there's a little bit of a learning curve in terms of like connecting the correct wallet and having the Ethereum in the wallet and making sure that you meet the eligibility. However, just spend a couple minutes. It's worth it in the long run. Invest invest in yourself, DCA in yourself. Like
Yes.
learn to do this stuff because as we progress into the future and this stuff becomes more predominant just in our culture, you're going to want to know how to do this stuff. You don't want to get left behind when it comes to things like this. It's
Yes.
because you're
In
just going to
in
be looking
all of
back later.
crypto,
Yeah.
collectively, we are still early,
Yep.
but technology doesn't stand still, even for crypto. So we have Bitcoin, and it has its own mechanisms, but more attention on Bitcoin. What we really want to have happen is that crypto is going to be adopted in the real world. And for that, we just got to keep up with the technology in crypto. So there are going to be chains that are more applicable real life that are coming out, right? Because they're faster, they're cheaper. We got to beat these things in the real world, right? They're going to be safer. So a lot of banks and stuff are already against it because it's hyper transparent. Blockchain is as transparent as we can get. Some of them don't kind of like it. But the other argument here is, well, we've got something that works hella fast, hella cheap. Why should we use Ethereum, right? And they got a point. They got a point, and that's why we have all these EVM compatible little chains coming out that are much faster, that use the logistics of Ethereum that's already being built, that's already done, and so they just create compatibility with that in order to come with a better product, right? And Sui is hella fast doing that parallel scaling as well for very cheap. Because for us, it would be like, yeah, how much cheaper do you want it? Yes, you do maybe one or two transactions, but a bank or a financial institute is going to do millions of transactions. For them, price matters, even if it's pennies, right? So yeah, Juliana, you have your hand up.
Yeah, first I want to say that anywhere, regardless, you need validators. If you want a blockchain, you need validators. So validators need to have some sort of reward. Otherwise, why somebody would keep a computer running 24/7? First of all, so you need the reward side, regardless. Except from it,
Yes.
take off the validator side, Ethereum, that you touch a very important point.
Yes.
That's why, regardless, Ethereum, because any blockchain that is launched, when is launched basically through Ethereum, and a lot of people don't know or don't like to talk about this. But when you launch a new blockchain, it's not like you make it and you are running up and running. And as you said, no, they need to have a backup from the Ethereum technology, because for how much it can be slow, it can be sometimes very expensive. The technology they have and the how wide it is, and so many application and money that are already inside the blockchain makes it right now extremely important. That's why earlier when we were talking about dominance, I think Ethereum is the main catalyst still. Because yes, there are some tokens that do whatever they want, but
Yes.
Ethereum has so much technology built on it,
Yes.
so much money on it.
I think also the mechanisms of Ethereum are not understood. Sometimes, I mean, I can see you should. I think everybody, it would make sense if you learn about how that technology works, how Bitcoin, even what's it about, right? You don't need to be Einstein to figure this out. Really not, right? I know they're using a lot of words that are maybe foreign to you, but in essence, it's pretty simple how blockchain works, right? And people make a mistake when they're bearish on Ethereum. They make a big mistake. Um, First of all, the traders are going to trade it because it's when Bitcoin is gold, ETH is still silver, and we see this because ETH still has the biggest volume next to Bitcoin. So until that is blown out of the water, that token will be traded by traders just for the chart. Now, the technology and the mechanisms of Ethereum, and the roads that are built on there already. That's why these EVM compatible chains can make use of, right? So it's like there's and this morning I said it like I compare it with when we built a new city. Most of the time we built some houses and some companies, some businesses, some hotels maybe, but we forgot the parking lots, we forgot the roads that need to, and that all gets shot along the way, right? Oh shit, now we need more parking lots. Of course people are going to lift our cars, right? And Ethereum, these roads are already there, right? So it's very easy, makes it very easy. You do not have to troubleshoot anything, you just have to be compatible with it. And so ETH is also deflationary, has a deflationary mechanism. Surely, only when it's when the GWE is up, right? So it has that mechanisms as well. So only in a bull run will ETH be deflationary, and so ETH will still do well. I don't think it's gonna do a crazy, run and get its own all-time high, but it kind of doesn't need to do that. So to stay alive, right? So we just got to take that in consideration when we're talking about Ethereum and how bullish it is. And so it will not disappear. However, we see some things that disappeared already from last bull run because they became irrelevant. Their utility, their technology is not applicable anymore, and some were not able to build out more to make it more applicable to the here and now, right? And some just didn't do it because they didn't see it coming. That happened too. And so I'm expecting that a lot of tokens that we're looking at, some chains, layers that we're looking at, they're not going to be around next bull run anymore because they became irrelevant, right? So be careful what you long hodl over time. Sometimes we still see some projects from last bull run that people are still bullish on simply because of the name. It's still in the psyche. But when I look at their technology, it's kind of like, yeah, I see better on the market right now, right? I see better things coming out, and so just mind that in your portfolio, that you do gotta do some research about what's new, because that's going to be of relevance, and that's why I like to be early on these chains and compare them to each other, and not just their technology, but also, okay, well, who's backing who here, right? Where is Coinbase investing in? Where's Circle? As against it as I sometimes am from a moral perspective, that we should not be relying on big venture capitals like that. But it is kind of needed. Sometimes it costs a lot of money for these projects. They need millions and millions. And so Sui started with a backing of 400 million when they came up with. And I see that Monad is now raking in 284 million already, and still
Wow.
being in testnet, still gathering funding, right? Because it takes a lot to drive a layer one like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That takes mountains of money,
Mm-hmm.
and it already takes mountains of money to move tiny meme coin. So in its own little ecosystem, because everybody should be aware of what things cost in crypto. It's a lot. It's a lot. A custom CA can go anywhere from 3K to 20K, just a custom CA, and
Damn.
you haven't even launched yet, right? And that depends on the complexity, of course, too.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to add liquidity. That's gonna be, market making. You're
Hold
looking
on.
at
So,
15,
forgive me,
20
Sin.
grand.
What about Sin AI? That's a custom CA.
That's a custom CA. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
that
So
costs
he,
money.
so Fox took care of that,
Yeah, that costs
or I
money.
mean, well, the tax fee took care of that in the long run.
In the long run, it will, but you got to front all that still.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lamb, go ahead. You have a hand up.
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to bring back to what we were talking about, the speed of the transactions. And I think for a lot of people I've heard in the space make this mistake where they think that more speed, above what we have and some of the options now, like Solana and even in Sui, are maybe excessive and not needed, right? But you have to think about, in my opinion, this is how I see it. I think you have to think about what Solana, as an example, their transaction fees would be if they were a 1 trillion market cap, right? Because those transaction fees are always divided in Solana price, right? And they're going to go up naturally, um, minus whatever they're able to scale within the code and fix as they go or add. But it's extremely important because you've
Mm-hmm.
got, a really fast blockchain, and that goes up by 40, 50, 100,000x, right? And that becomes a very popular layer one blockchain to process lots of transactions really fast. And just think about what we need around the world for that to happen, and think about the price, what the price would be after that. So the things like Monad that are 10,000, you know the speed's 10,000 faster than Ethereum, and it's going to be exponentially cheaper, right? That's really important for when that layer one becomes a bigger chain and becomes a much higher market cap. So just something to think about.
No, you're absolutely right. Because what needs to happen is, in like some other things we use in real life that we don't know that we're using. So what we want happen for massive crypto adoption is that people use crypto without knowing they're actually using blockchain technology, and that's just going to be a thing.
Absolutely. And they
Because
will. The
yeah,
the
and
back
they
end of
will.
all of their apps in their phone are going
Yeah,
to be run on this stuff, and they won't know it.
yeah, and they won't know it. Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
good.
Yeah, and that's
That's
good.
a good thing.
That's a good thing. We need to get
Yeah.
there. I always have the example of Swift. How many people know that we're using Swift quite regularly?
Right. Exactly.
We don't, and we don't even. Some people are like, Swift, what's that? Some people have heard about it, how we heard about the word, but do you actually know what it is, how it does, right? How it works? What is it?
Yeah.
So, and you don't need to know, right? I mean, that would be excessive knowledge, right? Unless you're a geek and you're like into it. Right? That's
Well,
I don't need to know.
and
I just want things to happen fast, and in my world, it needs to work. That's
Yeah, and it's just like the evolution of like, well, a lot of technologies, but let's just say the credit card, right? Back in the day when the credit card was brand new, I remember when it was pretty new, and my parents did not like using credit cards, right? They were, more or less scared and fearful that their money wasn't secure in it because they didn't understand the back end of it. Now, did they ever learn how the back end transactions work on credit cards fully? No, nobody does. Nobody digs into that stuff and researches that stuff. But are they okay with it now? Yeah, because it's mainstream and everybody uses it, and they know that they've got some at least a little bit of reassurance from the uh, the companies that have the credit companies that they're going to reimburse if there's fraudulent activity there, right? So there's different ways of getting
Absolutely.
people used to and okay with using a certain kind of technology, right? They don't have
Absolutely.
to necessarily understand it.
Absolutely. And that's why you should be also bullish on the encrypting part of it. So the privacy part of it, the safety and security of crypto, right? And it has a lot to bring to the table there too. And but the kind of vibe around it is that it's not. Well, that's kind of being, I think that's the narrative that a lot of these banks that do not per se like the transparency of blockchain technology are holding against crypto by a lot, right? It's not safe. It's not safe. While it is safer than what they have right now, because if you're looking at the technology that they are using, if a hacker comes in there, it can actually take millions of people's information, manipulate their, let's say, in this case, credit card, right? And blockchain technology, even though it's not perfect on safety, but when it gets breached, it's usually just for that one person, right? For one person that get breached and not a thousand people in one go. And so it's kind of bullshit that they have, but they're playing that narrative that way. Oh, wat is er, schat? Ga je nog eten van maken? Ja, ga ik zo doen. Ja. And so, yeah. So safety, speed, cost. You want to look at these things. And yeah, you want to be checking new things out because we kind of have to get there for that mass adoption. It was kind of the same, you guys, with the dot-com boom, right? We had these computers. And I remember I was very little when this happened, but my dad had like a Commodore. I guess I was like four or something like that. I don't know, something like that. And I remember the thing made noise when he needed to connect to internet. It was like bleep bleep bloop.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, oh
and
yeah.
it took like half an hour, right? And then I kind of wanted to play outside too. And of course, when you're that age, you do not have the time to sit down and wait for these things. You're just like, all right, this takes too long. I'm going. So by the time my dad loaded up a game for me or something, I was already out the door. But that took like half an hour, man, to even connect with internet. And sometimes it failed. And then everybody was like cranky. I remember that. And then later when I had, had these more professional technology coming out, it would take a little bit faster, but it still wouldn't be stable, and it cost a lot of money, right? Oh my God, these um the first thing that I had, what was it again? Okay, I never heard from them again. Access for All. It was Access for All. That was my first internet provider. Was Access for All, and you got one email address from them, but it cost. It was like
It's like AOL, yeah.
yeah, and it was like what was it? It was like I had to pay like 110 a month, and for that time it was a lot.
Yeah.
Was expensive to have, and it took a little while to connect to the internet, and it wasn't always as steady as it is now, right? So you that needed its own evolution too on technology. And do we still hear from Access for All? It was very bullish at the time. Everybody was in this country had knew about Access for All because there were only two providers, and this was the biggest one. And but you never hear from them again. Yeah. So if you had shares in Access for All, you would be stuck with a bag here.
Yeah.
Dust
Because
bag.
there's yeah, they probably got bought up or disappeared from stage. The people who worked there possibly were working for some other companies um, that were better. So the same technology evolution happened there, right now. And we had our parents say, well, my dad was kind of like a geek into the whole computer thing very very early, but most of the people, our parents, were pretty sketch about the whole .com thing. It's a scam. That's not going to last forever. And when we had the banking online, it was like, oh my God, no. I need my
Right.
money in my pocket, right? I need
Yep.
this is no good, right? And then eventually they had to catch up because banks, closed their little offices, the small offices all around. So you kind of had to. You were at one point forced to do it online. At first, it went through the phone, and then you could do it online. And you had to do like you get a letter with codes, and then you get a number with your code, and then you fill that code in, and it was like it took like half an hour to pay a bill, right? But it was
Yep.
fantastic already. That was the
And
newest
then
thing.
they start charging you money if you want to
Yes.
get paper statements in the mail.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's has its own technology too. So you got to open your eyes and see that is going to happen with crypto too. We cannot just stick with the same. We cannot stick with the same, and we don't want that to happen because the world needs to be using this. So we need to optimize and tweak.
Yeah, if I
And
wanted to send money to you right now without crypto, it would suck. You living in the Netherlands, like if I wanted to send,
yeah,
$500 to you, it would
yeah.
be a pain in the ass, or $5,000 or
Okay.
ten
Do you
thousand
know what
dollars. It would be
system
very difficult.
Yeah. Do you even know what system we're using to do international transactions? We're
No
using
idea.
BIC. Yeah, we're using BIC. You get a BIC code. Yeah. So you're using something else there too that you don't know that you're using, but you're using it, right?
That's what I'm
So
saying.
yeah, exactly. So
It's like
crypto is gonna have to take that over.
crypto is so important just for this alone.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I think about, I live in California, and which is near Mexico, and there's a lot of people here that need to like send money back home and everything. And in order to do that, they're getting, screwed over paying all these fees and taxes and
Yeah.
stuff that they don't, they're just losing
Oh,
money, and it's like they don't know better. They think it's the only option, and people don't
Jesus Christ! You
understand.
remember MoneyGram? It would take like
Yeah,
$40 to
that's
send
what I'm
$100, and
saying.
you'll be like, "What the
you
fuck was
know
that?"
and I'm telling you, and then in the neighborhoods where here in California, where there's the higher Latino population, there's more
Yep.
MoneyGrams and stuff because they know that they need to send the money back home, so they take advantage of these
Yep.
people. And that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
these people
Yeah.
work their asses off, and I see it firsthand because
Ridiculous.
I live adjacent to these. I don't live in the barrio, but like, yeah, I see
Yeah.
it firsthand.
So, Juliana, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I want to say that, for example, I live in the UK and I'm originally from Italy. I'm sending money home for, let's say, a problem that we have at home. That the only way I can help is money wise because I don't live in the same country. So I send cryptos generally to my brother. I sent him 3 times money through banks, and that was before cryptos. That before I started investing in cryptos. And so 3 times because I was doing Forex at the time, 3 times they gave me the worst exchange rate that they could have given me in the time that I was waiting for the payment to be accepted. That means if you were checking the chart 24 hours, it takes 3 to 5 days to make international payment. And the exchange rate, the bank decided. The fees, the bank decided. And there are two banks at least in between the transaction, and you don't decide nothing. So at the third one, I send him. It was when Liz Truss crashed. It was 2021, I think, or 2022 here in the UK. That's when he started to really buy Bitcoin because in a matter of 3 days, the pound collapsed from 120 with a dollar to 1.1, and with the euro the same. I sent money literally the week before, and I was there like, for fuck's sake, luckily I sent it now. Because otherwise, if I was waiting 1 week, I would have had send at least 200 euros more, pound
Wow.
more, compare.
Yeah.
I was there like, well, for fuck's sake. It's crazy.
The
And we're talking
arbitrage,
about
right?
20%. Sorry?
It's the arbitrage, right?
Yeah, let's say because you don't have the arbitrage, yes, as there is in cryptos, but at the same time because you don't have actual saying in it. So when you are, terms and conditions in the bank, if you start to read them through, are very similar to the YouTube one, are very similar to the Google one that they tell you
You
anything going through us.
You consent to that volatility. Yeah. And basically what they do is a money grab right then and there. That's what
Exactly.
it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they still have that power, and that's just one thing of the monetary system right now
It's
that
so
is
crooked,
so
you
lucky.
know.
Yeah, so
If
crooked.
Last thing
watch
about currency I want to say, guys, I don't know if
Mhm.
you know what is the market that daily moves the most money in the world. The forex market. Why? Why? Because they need to keep all, first there are so many people making money with the forex. That's how we started trading as well. It's crazy the world of forex. But at the same time, because they need to keep the value as they want. So in this way, they can devaluate the currency that they want when they want. And the main three, dollar, euro, and pound, generally they devaluate at the same time. But sometimes you have these move like it happened for me that you're like 20% in one weekend, bro.
wow.
The pound lost 20% in one weekend. It was that like supposed to be safe, this shit. How is
That's
supposed to be safe?
insane. Wow.
It is insane. And you know what? That's even that's just for us in first world countries that are walking
Exactly.
up against these things.
Imagine if you lived in Kenya and you had family
Oh,
in
look,
Morocco or
you don't even get to use a bank, man. How
Mhm.
many people are unbanked in the world is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's a percentage. It's ugly. You are
What do you
really
do? How do you
privileged
get
if you're
ahead?
living.
You know, if you're in a
Yeah,
third world
yeah,
country, you know, if you're and you know
yeah,
in India and in like Thailand and stuff too, it's like people
yeah.
are now getting access. You know, these things are becoming more accessible to them. You know, thank
They
God. But
start to use crypto, right?
hmm
They start to use crypto. In Nigeria, it's very common just to trade out even meme tokens and pay meme tokens, right? If it's worth that price today, then just go ahead and make the transaction because it's better. What the alternative is nothing
exactly.
or being fucked over by a bank even. So you're not going to do that. Then there's the countries with high inflation. So we have the unbanked countries that the people are massively unbanked, right? That's a massive amount. You're really privileged to even use a bank,
But
right?
yeah,
And
look
we
at
complain about it, still
the
not good.
Mexican
Yeah.
peso over the last 20
Yeah.
years. It's
Yeah.
devalued by a thousand
Yes.
fold or something.
Venezuela, you get paid on Friday in the morning, right? And your money is 40% worth less in the afternoon. So you could have bought
Argentina as well
five
had the
breads,
same
and
problem lately.
yeah, and now you can only buy two and a half. So people immediately, when they get their money, start buying crypto because it's less volatile than the inflation in their own country. Rightfully so, right? You got to stabilize somewhere and then
Yeah.
pay each
And
other in Bitcoin.
imagine that in some countries they don't even use currency for the
No.
inflation, as you just said. They just go to the market. They're like, bro, my mom made yesterday 3 shirts. Can I trade them with some, I don't know, piece of
Yeah.
bread because
Yeah.
it's worthless the money basically.
Exactly. You cannot even ask money anymore. And when we look at history, we kind of did that because money was not available for a long period of time to the masses either.
Dude,
So we
that
have
I'm still wrapping my head around that last thing that was said about the money being so worthless that if you want
so
to go get
worthless.
some bread from the store, your
Yeah. You,
coins or your dollars are worth less than here's some shirts that my mom made, like
yes.
and the market, the
Yeah.
cashier would be more inclined to take the t-shirts rather than the money, which is
Well,
worth
money should
dirt.
represent resources, right?
Yeah, yeah, but
But
yeah,
it needs to have a certain
a backing.
value stability.
Hmm.
Yeah. And how are you going to stabilize? All right. So we kind of lost track of all of that in the last century, right?
With
And
gold,
so
the
we
backing of
yes,
the
and
dollar with
so
gold.
yeah, yeah, and so we're here right now with this,
And look at gold
uh,
right now. Like right now, my buddy that
yeah,
lives in
of course,
Thailand was
this
telling
is
me that the
yeah,
rate
this
that
is a
people are
reaction
buying gold is crazy right now.
because everybody feels it,
Hmm.
everybody knows it too. I mean, this is not rocket science for no one who had just a basis education to see how that pans out. And but a lot of people who are just who didn't have an education but are street smart because they had to be. They saw it coming a long time because trying try and get their money, trying to get into their wallet. They're all
Mm.
about it, right? But it
You
this
know,
happened in look when we had the Roman Empire and then we had the Middle Ages. But in none of those times did people actually have a lot of money. There wasn't even enough being minted at the time. So people didn't have money. So people traded things. And at one point, you could get like a village would have one little token that they mint themselves, or make like wooden tokens, or like button like. Some were actually buttons, right? And then you trade these because they represented something, right? And so I could get for one wooden button this size, I could get one bread, was worth one bread. So the bread was determining the value, the resources were determining the value, right? And people had to do that because look, you were very rich if you could ever get a silver coin. I mean, most of the people would never have seen a silver coin in history. That was up to like an elite who were seeing that, and merchant folk and stuff. But most were just plebs. If we would have gone back in time, everybody here in the room would probably be. We would not be anywhere in we were far away from royalty, as far away as we are now. We would probably be serfs. We probably would. We would be farmers and serfs, and we would never ever seen a silver token in our lives, let alone, or maybe not even a copper one. So, yeah, Giuliano.
Yeah, I was listening to this podcast of this guy. Now I don't remember the name, but I was about to buy his books because it's very interesting. And he was saying, that in his opinion, capitalism is basically the dictatorship of the democracy state, because the only way that into a democracy you can actually enslave in a way the population, because it's a democracy officially. You know, on paper we are all free to speak and all free to talk, but you are not free to do anything, because your time is, you base your time in money basically. So your life is money. You think you are, as soon as you realize what money are, you're like, oh, I will need a 300K to retire. I will need a 1 million to retire. No, it doesn't work. It shouldn't be like that,
Nope.
because eventually you should have the freedom, especially when you start to approach life and how it works, to, you know, give the best without being worried about paying the rent, paying food, you know, these basic things. But unfortunately, that's the way they have to enslave us, in my opinion, into democracy. And it's very tough because
Yes. Yes.
it's
Unfortunately,
been
but
great.
look,
Uh,
we
now
believe
we know more.
still, we still, it was the best answer to what was there before. And we can clearly look back on history and see, like, yeah, what we have now beats being a freaking serf in the year 500, right? It does. We are getting better. But that doesn't mean that we cannot improve anymore. And I think that Satoshi got it right, right? And if you read about that stuff, what Bitcoin is really about, then go ahead, because it's actually very inspiring. It also was very much an answer to the crashes that happened in 2008, where all these banks were just doing their own thing, having people load up on mortgages that were not supported by their income and highly speculative. And then they would hedge against their loss. That's evil. That's evil. They sold these people rotten mortgages that they could never pay. And because they knew that people could never pay these high leveraged mortgages, they were 100% leveraged for the first time ever. And the government let them, or were even in cahoots. And then they bet against the fact that these people couldn't pay, and they even made money on both ends this way. That's what happens. It's disgusting. And that's why we have Bitcoin.
Have you ever watched The Big
It's
Short?
so
The
true.
Big
Yeah.
Short is probably
Yeah, yeah.
Cause and effect.
They hedged. They hedged. So and then when they toppled, when some banks got actually taken by the same, right, by bigger banks, right, and then we had to bail out the smaller banks that didn't see that one coming, that bought a lot of these derivatives. Yeah. Yeah, and then those toppled, and then whose tax money needed to save them again? The poor people who couldn't pay their mortgages to begin with, but still had to pay taxes, and so they had to bail out the bank that got them into trouble in the first place. It's so disgusting what happened there. And so, because I know I was in these think tanks around that time, I was very young and very wanted to be politically active. So we wanted to have answers for these things, right? And and a few years later, we started to talk about Bitcoin. and self-governance, right? Because that's important, because you're being governed. Your money is being, if you think you're not, it's just a thing, you guys, no matter which way you look at it. But I'm happy that we're all here and we're all very early. And it's good to look at early projects like that are promising, that move the technology and the needle forward. We got to be with those, right? We got to learn from history, from the dot coms. We got to learn from how the banks adjusted to that and how the world adjusted to that. And that took a while. And this is going to take a while too. But the mechanisms of Bitcoin is that we do not have enough Bitcoin. And that's why now governments need Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't need government. Yeah, Bitcoin doesn't even need us. It's a thing on its own. We need Bitcoin. Just remember that. So DCA some coffee money into Bitcoin. DCA some of your profits into Bitcoin for the future, maybe for your future, maybe for you, but at least for them. And that's the only way to have an answer against this monetary system that's just against you ever joining the ranks of what crypto could do for us at this point. If you're smart and you get with it. Yes, Giuliano, let's go.
You know, you said something that I do say very often, and I've been saying this even before the election. In fact, a lot of people, when I was saying this, they were looking at me like, no, what are you talking about? Bitcoin doesn't need Trump. Bitcoin doesn't need Elon Musk. Doesn't need, probably, yeah, Michael Saylor in a way, if you want. Maybe he's right now somebody that might affect the price of Bitcoin because he's longing Bitcoin with his MicroStrategy. A lot of people don't know this, that in a part of his treasury, he's long in Bitcoin. That means that's why MicroStrategy is earning so much in the stock market. But he's buying spot a lot of Bitcoin. So thank you to him. But let's say Bitcoin is bigger. You cannot stop Bitcoin. This bull
Yes.
cycle, it was gonna happen on Bitcoin regardless of Trump, because last time Trump was elected, he was against cryptos and tried to guess what happened to the market. He
Yes.
pumped.
Yes. ETFs, same thing. Every bull run we had these ETFs. Yeah, we need ETFs as a catalyst. Bitcoin is its own catalyst. Now, there's some things that can speed the process up of Bitcoin, surely, right? Obviously, Saylor has a bigger microphone than we have. But don't forget the power of you in your surroundings. Help people with some crypto, right? Don't be telling them that they can be a millionaire in a year, right? Don't go there. But I tell everybody with little children, hey, it would be wise, save some Bitcoin for them. Yeah. If you're gonna save 50 bucks a month for your children's savings, a pop, let's say, buy 20 of that, buy some Bitcoin for it, right? It cannot hurt you. Might even be your massive amount of savior in the future. But that's just going to be smart. So you can tell other people too. We are the microphone, or the collective is the microphone for Bitcoin to put it on blast. And it didn't need ETFs. It doesn't need governments. Governments need it because they see what's up with it. Edge, you have your hand up.
Every time I DCA into Bitcoin, the bridge I'm using takes $5. Is anyone else experiencing this? The fees?
Yes. So this is what I do. You can even go around with a compatible solution for it, right? But I still do the old-fashioned round. I actually have Bitfavo. It guarantees me 100K. If they ever go out of business, I'm insured for 100K there always. And so I just buy some Bitcoin on there, and then when it makes sense for the transaction fees to do, the transaction, if I have like 500, I'm willing to pay $5 for the transaction, but possibly just send it to my ledger or something like that. So that's what I do, right? I know not your keys, not your crypto, but
Yeah.
every 3 months it's just like, all right, let's ship it over to the ledger, right? And or your wallet, and so take it off of there. Sometimes you can make use of a little bit of price difference where the Bitcoin is bought a little bit cheaper at that time if you're being anal about it. But even with that $5 cost, or sometimes $6 cost that I'm looking at, if for me already, if it's like hit 200 of DCA, it's already making sense to me then, right? So when I say buy coffee money Bitcoin, you could use an exchange for that. In fact, most people are going to be boarded through exchanges anyway. So whether we like them or not, they are making things easier for the transactions. So, that's just
And
real
safer
time.
for the normies, let's be honest.
Yes,
Safer
safer
as
for
well.
the normies. Yes, exactly. Because there's a lot of scams that can drain your wallet, clicking and shit. So there's a lot of that going on too, that you maybe first need to learn. So it's not that bad. And just to collect uh, some Bitcoin every.
Anyway, otherwise, you know what you can do, as Michael Saylor probably does. You contact miners and you ask them how much they
Yes,
want for their
it's a
Bitcoin.
OTC deal. Yes, you guys, 95% of Bitcoin is already mined out. There's only 5% left to mine. Sometimes on the day, well, most of the time, there's more Bitcoin being bought that's being mined on the daily. And then one would say, why is price not gigantically going up in one big God candle? Well, there is some paper trading going on too. There's a delay with that always. So, um, especially with the ETFs, that only actually delays that process, right? So, so that's why I wasn't bullish on the ETFs from the get go, because they just delayed that on the chart. Eventually, Bitcoin will just go up. Now, that doesn't mean that we cannot take a volatile hit down, but Bitcoin is never going to be $1 anymore. Yeah. So and the mechanisms of that is because of Bitcoin. So just if you're interested, study that a little bit, and so you can hold in conviction. For me, it's very clear. At one point, people are gonna use crypto without knowing they're gonna use crypto. They are gonna be paid in crypto, even at one point, and we need to consider ourselves the lucky few to front run all of that, right? Don't wait to get paid in crypto. Start being a participant right now, especially if you have children thinking about having a family or something. For them, that's going to be their world, right? So you better learn about it. I think that only makes sense. Don't be like your parents, like oh, that's never going to happen, because you're kind of stuck and used to what you know. Yeah, Juliana.
You know, sometimes it makes me laugh because there are people like, that you can I go shopping and buy food with Bitcoin? Yeah, right now, let's say there are the ways, but let's not get it, bring them up. Let's say officially you cannot, if you have Bitcoin on your ledger like that, you cannot do that. But try to guess. Lamborghini, Ferrari, they accept Bitcoin, they accept Ethereum, and since the beginning of last year, I believe, Solana as well. So, of course, maybe you cannot do your grocery shopping, but right now, try to guess. Millionaires can do fucking car shopping for these things. So, to me, it's just a
Well,
matter of
yeah.
time before
Well,
we are getting
Juliano,
lower.
in my country, I can pump gas with Bitcoin. I can order dinner right now and pay in Bitcoin. I can go to stores and already paying some stores with Bitcoin, especially the family owned stores. They are much faster with this stuff than anything else. They accept XRP. They accept more currency, cryptocurrency, than even that app does where I order my food. Right? I in some Ubers I can pay with crypto already. People here like to have crypto, so you know that's over here. And because we got so screwed over with the euro, I guess in Italy too. Who didn't?
I'm in the UK, but in the UK, I kind of like it because they are trying to regulate in a way, not like Trump to own it,
Yeah.
but to make it more user accessible. In fact, since they started regulation, there are many more people that in my regular life they started to even just have a crypto.com app or a Coinbase app. Then now Coinbase it
Yeah.
should be available as well in UK. So I say that, for how much I might be against a centralized exchange, first, of course, they are, as you said as well, user friendly. They are much healthier for people. But I say that still we are miles away because there are a few places in London in which you can pay with cryptos, but otherwise, not
Oh
really.
yeah. I would. At one point, you can just buy a house with crypto. I could even see, and I've been discussing it, like how your NFT would own the house to bypass some tax laws there too. That's going to be a thing too, right? So yeah, actually next week I'm going to have like a really good conversation about that with some real estate property owners that are looking into doing that collectively already. So that's going to be a nice talk to be a part of that. I'm going to listen and hear that alpha, you guys. It's just so exciting to be in crypto, and even if the charts are down, that's the time where you can research these things, right? And so you don't have to be bearish on it. You don't have to be bear. We're still all early. With that said, there are some tokens that are not projects, layer ones, whatever, that are not going to be around anymore because they're not applicable anymore. So we got to watch out for that in your portfolio.
Mm.
Some things will still be traded because it's in the psyche of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it was still bullish, and so it still will be traded. But eventually, they're gonna have to deal with the new stuff that comes out, and that's a good thing. That should happen. That's evolution, and so, but it got to keep you sharp as an investor, right? You gotta be sharp with these things and do your due diligence with it and start looking at new stuff. So this turns out to be a little bit of a different space than I written down, which I'm always open to do because that's a good thing. I'm always entertained, but I kind of have to close it down now. So you guys, I'm gonna give you the microphone if you want to have some last words on this. Remember, it's recorded, so it's also for the people in the future, right? So go ahead if you feel like doing that. Let's go.
I just wanted
I
to
just
say thanks again, you
you go.
guys, for joining us today, and great show, and yeah, thanks again. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, man. Cool. Second that.
I'm glad I managed to finally have a space with you, Wilder, again. Let's go. I'm bullish on all of you guys in here. Let's go.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks, Wild. Thanks, Tick, for your time. Thanks for opening up the space and letting us up here to talk with you and all the alpha. I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to the charts. They're coming back from another little bit of a dip we had this morning. We got a nice W pattern on the 1 hour. So people seem to be a little bit bullish. We'll see this Litecoin SEC thing still hasn't been announced for the ETF approval. It would be kind of strange if they would, in my opinion, if they decline it now at the last minute, but we'll see. Who knows? They'll be watching that. I think everybody's kind of eyeing that.
Yes,
So,
that would be kind of like a stick in your wheels. But look, in
yeah.
the end, we'll overcome, and the chart will do what it does. Yeah, we're looking at some pumpies here.
Hmm.
Tau is really ripping. What the hell? I'm not a part of that trade in the future line. But anything that pumps, you guys, I bless all the people who are up on their bags massively, right?
Yep.
Because your time in crypto is more important than time in crypto, and
I
so
don't,
it will happen for you too. Your bags will pump too.
I don't know what's going on with Veracity, but it just pumped 37%.
Yes, I actually talked to a previous marketing manager of Veracity,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and because he's joining Sin AI and the team, and
Nice.
so we had a meeting, and yeah, he was still bullish on it too. So I was like, yeah, and now you're saying the pump, right? Yeah, that's hurting. I held Veracity for a long time, you guys, for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, bless the holders, the believers, because for them, it's the pumps. They're for them. They're the ones that make the most access, right? And rightfully so. You
Yeah.
held the floor, you held conviction, and so you get blessed. And that's a good thing. So I wish everybody 100, 1,000x, 10,000x. I wish it all upon you. Anyway, yeah, thanks guys for coming into space. You should all follow each other first and foremost. I'll be in lab space tomorrow. You have it already, so we can set a reminder for it, Lam. You want to
I
pin it?
don't have it posted yet. I
All
didn't
right,
even think
awesome.
about it.
You're
So,
just gonna have to
be
follow
watching
Lam
for it. Yep. Yep.
and watch out for it and look for it. So that's tomorrow morning, and then you guys, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, right? Because This conversation went a little differently,
Oh yeah, let's go.
but it's still
Absolutely.
called What's the Ticker, right? Let's go. Also, we need a new song, Tick, for the outro.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you guys. See you
Stay
tomorrow.
bullish. Stay bullish on yourself.
Ticker is Bitcoin, BTC.
Bitcoin.
Let's go.
Bitcoin. That's the ticker. Today the ticker was Bitcoin. Catch you later.